Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be learning how to explain how life changed after Reconstruction. You'll know you're successful if you can define Reconstruction and explain how it changed America. You're going to need to have your notes page out that says Changes During Reconstruction. You're going to add a new page to your table of contents that says Changes During Reconstruction. On the front, you see a picture there, and the question says, "How do you think life changed for African Americans during Reconstruction?" So you're going to write on those lines, "Life changed for African Americans during Reconstruction because." Think about some of the changes that you think occurred. Pause the video while you add your answer. The second question says, "What challenges do you think African Americans will face?" So on this one, you're going to say, African Americans still faced challenges like, and you're going to list some of the challenges they still faced during the time of Reconstruction. Once you finish those notes, you can unpause the video and continue. Let's look at family life. Family life was at the center of the life of African American community after the Civil War. Thus, reuniting families was the first priority. Former slaves often walked hundreds of miles in search of family members who had been sold away during slavery. Slave marriages had no legal standing, so once they were free, tens of thousands of African Americans were married by the Army and by the Freedmen's Bureau. Go ahead and take a look at your notes now. In the first box on the left, under Family Life, I'd like you to add that it was the center of the African American community, the first priority was reuniting families, and that thousands of African Americans were married. Please pause the video while you add these notes. Now let's talk about churches. The creation of independent African American churches was a major accomplishment of Reconstruction. The church played a central role in the Black community. African Americans gathered their money together as a community to purchase land and to build a church. For example, St. John Baptist Church was founded in Missouri City, Texas, shortly after the Civil War. You can see a picture of that church here on the right. The church also served as a place to hold social events and political gatherings. African American ministers during the Reconstruction often served as political leaders. For example, you see a picture here of Benjamin Franklin Williams. He was a minister of the church, and he was also elected to represent Fort Bend County to the Texas legislature during Reconstruction. We're going to go ahead and add notes now to two parts of our notes page. You see churches. You're going to add that African Americans gathered their money together as a community to purchase land and to build a church. On the right, where you see Benjamin Franklin Williams under Important People, you're going to add that he was a minister and he was elected to represent Fort Bend County to the Texas legislature. Go ahead and pause the video while you add these notes. Now let's talk about education. Remember that during slavery, an education was denied to African Americans. So during Reconstruction, freed people of all ages worked hard to achieve an education. Classrooms often contained more than 50 people and didn't have very much material. Still, families were committed to getting an education, and many moved to cities to have better access to an education. During Reconstruction, the establishment of public education came to the South. Reconstruction also led to the establishment of the nation's first African American colleges, both private and public. For example, Prairie View A&M, which is located near Houston, was established in 1876. African American Texas legislators were leaders in creating this public college. You're now going to add notes to the education section. We're going to add that freed people of all ages worked hard to achieve an education and that public education came to the South. Please pause the video while you add these notes. Now let's talk about political life. Despite threats and intimidations, up to 90% of African American men voted during Reconstruction. This led to African Americans serving in local, state, and national governments. New state constitutions had to be created in the southern states. Approximately 25% of the delegates of these conventions were African Americans who helped write the new state constitutions. In 1870, Hiram Revels became the first African American to serve in the United States Senate. He represented the state of Mississippi. Robert Smalls, another important African American leader in the United States Congress during Reconstruction. He represented the state of South Carolina in the U.S. House of Representatives. Smalls became a hero during the Civil War for his daring escape from slavery, and then his service to the Union as a soldier. Take a look now, and you're going to add to two parts of your notes. You're adding to political life. We want to add that 90% of African American men voted and that African Americans served in governments. On the right, we're going to add the information for Hiram Revels and for Robert Smalls. Remember, Hiram was the first African American to serve in the United States Senate, and he represented Mississippi, and that Robert Smalls was a leader in Congress. He was a representative of South Carolina in the House of Representatives, and he was a hero because he escaped slavery and he served as a Union soldier. Pause the video while you add those notes. And then let's talk about economic life. Economic independence was a major goal of African Americans during Reconstruction. Most people in the South worked in agriculture at the time, and African Americans wanted to farm and own their own land. In some cases, they were able to do that. For example, Walter Moses Burton was able to buy land from his former master in Fort Bend County. Burton was also the first African American to serve as a county sheriff, and he later served in the Texas legislature. Most African Americans were not able to become landowners. Instead, a system called sharecropping became the norm. Under this system, African American families rented plots of land. They would keep part of the crop to sell themselves, and then the landowner would get the rest. Although this system kept most in poverty, it allowed them to have more control over their own lives compared to slavery. They could determine which members of the families worked in the fields. Under slavery, children were forced to work in the fields, but during Reconstruction, many attended school. You're going to go ahead and update your notes now for economic life. We want to add that African Americans wanted to farm and own their own land, and that sharecropping happened where they rented plots of land. You also want to add information on important people under Walter Moses Burton. You want to add that he bought land from his former master. He was the first African American to serve as county sheriff, and that he served in the Texas legislature. You now want to go ahead and complete the reflection question, which is, what do you think was the most significant change and why? So the changes in family life, in churches, in education, in political life, or in economic life. You're going to choose one of those as what you felt was the most significant, the biggest change, and explain why you thought that had the most impact. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can finish your notes and complete the reflection question. Be sure to save your notes so that I can check them later.